This session is brought to you with the help of Sundial Cannabis, the natural alternative for modern wellness. Hello and welcome to Sessions by the Herb Life. My name is Tiana, your friendly sessions facilitator, and we are back for season 2 with a new lineup of women, mostly with a sprinkling of man here and there, who have made cannabis their business. Sessions is a podcast that aims to bring forth the conversations that are happening on the ground of the cannabis industry to generate new ideas and highlight the dedication of some of the plant's greatest advocates. By bringing together a rotating roster of people with an emphasis on women and diversity, we hope to share with you the passions, the challenges, and the triumphs of those working in the cannabis space. Much like you, my job really is to sit back and enjoy the ride. This session, you'll hear from sister duo Zia and Tamu Stolbie, who have been working together for, well, forever. The work ethic on these two women perfectly encapsulates the hustle mentality we all hear about in the cannabis space. They have several businesses in operation, all centered around the cannabis plant, which in their words was the missing link in their professional careers. They now have a thriving creative agency working with cannabis LPs and brands alike. They have an apparel line with a focus on sustainability, and they have an event company catering to the ever-growing demand of infused cannabis dining. Interestingly, the core of all of their businesses seem to be collaboration, partnering with creatives and industry professionals from all disciplines to create robust and diverse services as part of their offerings. Diversity is, of course, at the crux of this conversation. Tamu and Zia being two women of colour in what we know to be an industry still working on creating and maintaining a space where people from all walks of life have equal opportunity. They discuss their aspirations for themselves and the industry as a whole, and also their journey working together as sisters, which for anyone but these two would be challenging to say the least. In fact, most of the local industry know them only as the Stolbie sisters, and perhaps like me, you'll realise just how close these two are as they're often finishing each other's sentences. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Zia and Tamu Stolbie.
Heyo, Stolbie sisters here.
I'm Tamu.
And I'm Zia Stolbie, and today we're going to be discussing women and diversity in the cannabis space, a topic that's quite close to our hearts, and we've explored this quite often in this industry so far, but I'm going to delve a bit deeper today with each other for the first time interviewing, which is great. So I guess we'll start by discussing a bit about our initial experience in coming into the cannabis space and why diversity and being in this industry is so important to us. Tam, why don't you take it away with how we started here?
Well, I think the piece that was really important for me, based on the fact that we had come from working in other very male-dominated industries, in tech, and our other business partner in the Coven Club, Sarah Lehman, working in law, in criminal defense, was really what we've seen, and in the industries that we've been working in for the last few years, the importance of supporting women in those positions and women in entrepreneurship in those spaces. And increasingly, the conversations surrounding the importance of diversity, both with women, but also with minorities in those spaces. And so I think seeing as the cannabis industry is a new, booming and burgeoning industry, it then really became the most important industry to look at right now to not repeat some of the previous mistakes we've seen happen in some of the other booms, like in the tech industry. So I think for me, it was really in seeing sort of this new emerging industry with so many opportunities where basically you have a clean slate to build an entire industry from the ground up, and the importance of making sure that that's done in a way that is really representative of women and of minorities, and just really to address a lot of the equality issues that we have in a lot of other industries, in this one
From the
ground up.
Yeah. And we work in events and the media side of things in the cannabis space. And so exploring that experience, where we come from a background in the film industry where it was, conventionally male dominated. A lot of the industries like Tam was talking about with the tech industry, really important for us to be able to have a chance this time, have a voice this time, and be able to support others through our journey in taking the leap of faith to jump in something that was kind of unknown. I mean, it's the wild, wild west right now. We're kind of experiencing that in cannabis across the board. And it was really important for us to be able to have access to this industry in this way from the jump, but also in lifting others up throughout it, and, kind of collectively taking each other on this journey where it's possible this time. So yeah, we just like to explore some of the challenges, past, present, and future, that we've experienced and that we're in, but looking to the future as being pretty positive. What are your thoughts?
Past challenges, again, I think we've just touched on that. It's really the fact that there are the same challenges as we've seen in all of the previous industries, where we've seen a boom happen, and we've seen a flood of investment dollars come into an entire industry. And in that process, we've seen women and a lot of minorities shut out from those early stages of an entire creation of a new industry. And so we then are building businesses from the ground up that aren't representative of those things, which then in turn creates an entire industry that is not representative of those things. And I think that we are then needing to look down the line, like has happened in the tech industry now, where years later we realize a lot of the flaws and the cracks in that, and we see the impacts of that, and then we see businesses hiring diversity teams and needing to address those things much further down the line, when those structures could have been created differently from the start. And so I think as far as past challenges, though some of those things are obviously specific to us, other of those things are just kind of the industry and really just society in general across the board. But I think that is really what we have the opportunity now, which brings us to the present, to change in this very moment, because we are building now an entire industry
from the ground up,
with every individual piece on an international level. And we have the opportunity really this time in a very powerful way to change what a lot of those conversations even look like. And I think especially with the level of funding and investment dollars and opportunities in this industry right now, it's really important to be having those conversations as much as we possibly can. And with each other, and also just in that very public way, because I think that is part of what hasn't been done in the past. And I think this is a little bit, the shift that follows the sort of post-Trump era women's uprising that has really been going on for the last few years.
We all feel it.
and so I think that part of that, has spawned a lot more conversation surrounding a lot of these issues. And, we're just trying to make sure that our voices, and we're representing a lot of other people's voices, and those voices are heard in a more public way and on a higher platform.
Yeah, and positioning is very important. Us being in Canada and being, in Hollyweed North, as we call it, or trying to develop that here. We have a position internationally with All Eyes on Us, with some of the best cannabis that exists on the planet, and the most access and most information. And, if we can use media and use, the sources that we have here to provide that on a larger scale and reach a larger audience, to state the realities of what this industry looks like and the realities of, what we're dealing with, I think that's really important, to use your voice in that way. And that's what we endeavor to do, being on the media side of things and having that chance to, create a vlog and create content that is representative of what we're actually experiencing and actually working with. Because I think a lot of media also gets skewed in a lot of ways and shown a different facet of what is the reality. Right. And so we're really focused on sharing the truth in things and sharing, real stories and storytelling that shows an honest representation of what the cannabis culture and what the cannabis industry is actually like, because that also will shape the future of cannabis consumers and cannabis users in general, because it's not necessarily what people have seen in the past, cannabis been represented as, typical stoner culture. A lot of things have changed where all of a sudden the public eye is seeing, cannabis legalized and cannabis is here and it's a good thing now, and CBD, and there's all these angles, that are coming at people, but they don't really know what to do with it. They don't really know what the truth in the matter is, when they've been told for so long that cannabis is also the gateway to the worst thing you can do, to now be some of the best things you can do. And so I think a lot of people are realizing the missing link in that. They're like,
there's a lot of confusion.
What were we missing? And there's obviously, I'm seeing it like any other industry. There's entrepreneurs in this, there's driven people, there's, all these different things that doesn't quite equate to what they are used to seeing. So we really wanted to represent that also and show the truth, and using media always as the platform is the best way to do it.
I agree.
Yeah. So the importance of supporting and advancing female and women entrepreneurs in the cannabis space, as well as having the allies support. So why don't we delve a bit deeper into that?
Yeah, I think, again, that comes down to, we touched on it a bit earlier, but it is that community building piece, the ability to bring your skill set and your skill set that you may have from previous and different industries that you've worked in prior to the cannabis industry, and to be able to bring that expertise and those stories into the forefront in this industry, and network with and work with the other women and allies that want to see this industry advance in all of those same ways. So I think that's why, obviously in these early stages, it really is about putting yourself out there in the community, finding out and really talking to people what the issues are and what areas things can be addressed and improved in. And I think really just building that community. It's another ground up kind of operation, and it needs to be done in this industry in a very powerful way, because in order for us to not repeat some of the mistakes that we've addressed earlier that have, happened in most other booms and industries prior to this, we women really need to be taking charge and taking the lead.
Take the reins, ladies,
in a way that is much more powerful, I guess I would say, and on a much larger scale and larger platform than has been done previously.
For sure. And I would say evening out the playing field from the get-go.
That includes positions. Women putting themselves in the position to seek investment funding in those like early days, and stepping into the rooms and sitting at the tables where the conversations are happening in those early stages. And traditionally, most of the time, those are tables and rooms that women are not in.
Not allowed to be in, yeah.
I think that's really where